China's elderly population is soaring as its birth rate plummets. Last year, China recorded its first population decline in 6 decades. What to do about it is being debated at the two sessions as part of a global trend dubbed the Silver Tsunami. Let's take a look at this in a bit more detail. First, China's demographics. Well, the number of people born this year will be far smaller than the number of people in their 60s, and it's a trend set to continue. Here in Europe, Italy's population is aging and shrinking at the fastest rate in the West. Of course, Italy is much smaller than China, and these population numbers are in the thousands, not the millions. But you can see the shape of the graphics is pretty much the same. Africa's most populous country, Nigeria, has the absolute opposite. Let's take a look at this. You can see the contrast is pretty stark, isn't it? We'll be taking a closer look at what European governments are doing about this in a moment. First, back to China and what social policies are being proposed there. James Liang is a demographer and the author of a book on population trends. He says China is facing a major demographic challenge.
Like many other countries, China can do cash subsidy, tax incentives, housing incentives, and direct, financial support of all these measures to support families. And on top of that, China can do to help particular family, particular woman to balance the career and childbearing is, building a lot of daycare centers like some of the European countries that do. And also, lastly, very importantly, education reform. Try to reduce the kind of arms race to getting to the elite colleges.
So what further policies should be put in place to try to address this challenge of a shrinking and an aging population?
The solution, there's ways to mitigate the aging problem by, for example, raising retirement age, to have higher tax rates for the young, but the ultimate solution is to have financial support and also other kinds of policy support for family to raise children, to reduce their burden financially and time pressure to raise children, just like other countries have done.
And how will China cope with that shrinking workforce?
The last few years, the last 5 years, as I said, is where we see a very steep decline of fertility rate. And it takes, 20 years for kids to grow up. And China really has to deal with this, 20 years later. But the solution for this is to act now, to have procreation policies right now to increase the fertility rate. Otherwise, 20 years from now, they're really in a very difficult situation. Either you have a very high burden tax rate, or you have to continuously raise the retirement age. And also your whole economy, the vitality and the creativity and the innovativeness of your economy is going to suffer too.